Grateful for you. Ron, I'm up here talking, and here it is. You weren't even on. My apologies. Good morning to you. Good morning, everyone. Good morning. Good morning. I'm so grateful to you, your family. So grateful that God has blessed you and everyone in your life to experience a joyous holiday coming together. We have a lot of gym work to do, so many of us, and uh, who had experienced some good eating and good time. I had an amazing time, and just the aftermath. I worked on Thanksgiving, but the days after it was very, very rewarding. And so I'm grateful for everyone that's in this room, everyone that's coming on, everyone that's in our Facebook, YouTube. I have a great, great, great session today, and we've been tapping into all that goes on with narcissism. We've had a good run in talking about narcissism and what that looks like, what it is, in that it being a personality disorder versus a mental disorder. How does that look? How does one survive it? How do we manage it? How do we identify it? How does the empath in particular um, wake up and begin to deal with their experiences and protecting themselves? There's a lot of good help and understanding on how to protect you. There has to come a point in time in our lives when we really, really focus in on ourselves, what that looks like, how it looks, and then the aftermath of it. We talked, and if you go back into the archives of 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 all that we have gone through and talked about, there's probably nothing that we did not fall short of talking about, because we feel that preparation is the key. And I'm grateful for revelation. I'm grateful for understanding and for clarity and hope. So today's session, we are preparing for those who don't know, and those who are coming on for the first time, and those who are joining this platform. I am a spiritual leader in a community of two different cities, going on almost 30 years of experiences, 30 years of life changes and challenges. Life is not the same for anyone if they survive the year, 5 years, 10 years, 15 years, 20 years. If they survive from their late teens to, early adulthood to, early 30s and 40s, and any level of survival, any level of coming through something, it alters and it changes you, whether it's in the good way, bad way, or whatever, however it is. There's some level of experience and influence. And so, in this room, in this unpack morning, we deal with mental hellness to wellness and the undiagnosed trauma. And we've certainly have taken time in the clinical way to break down and understand how the sociological aspect of our lives matter after our along rather with our spiritual understanding, our spiritual experiences, our belief system or systems that one may ascribe to. We certainly understand the presence of spirituality in any level of conflict that we have gone through, going through, or will continue to go through. I am grateful for just bringing closure and understanding to that aspect of our lives. I believe what we don't understand, we have the tendency to be against. Yes, we will be against what we don't understand. We'll comment, hey, Apostle Tyson, good morning to you. We will certainly be against what we don't understand. And so I truly attribute life experience to more than just sucking or chucking it up. It has purpose. Everything in your life has purpose. And this is a safe space for any man or any woman, regardless of your race, creed, color, regardless of your faith, your denomination, whether you are holiness, Baptist, Pentecostal, whether you are Hindu, Buddhist, Muslim, Jewish, it doesn't matter because trauma does not discriminate. It does not, it's not appearing to those who are wealthy financially and those who aren't. And regardless of your status, your social status, your political status, your economical status, your educational status, your religious status, I don't care about your street creds. It does not discriminate. So this is a safe space and for you to gather enough tools and information and knowledge on how to manage you. All right. So that's where we're at. All right. So today we are preparing and we've been preparing ourselves. We're going to pivot somewhat, Ron. We're going to pivot from just talking about narcissism. We spent a lot of time in dealing with and understanding narcissism and narcissistic people, narcissistic ways, and we've really spent a heap of time on these sessions and on this particular topic because I know that we are in a very, very selfish hour. And the premise of our teaching was predicated on what Paul says that in the last days, men and women will be lovers of themselves and of pleasure more than lovers of God. So that there speaks to narcissism all by itself. As you come on, can you do this page a great favor and share it? We are going to delve into some really, really, really serious things today. And I would that you would share, help me evangelize this message on here it is. This is the first day of November. Happy November, everybody. November, happy December. First day of December. We made it to the 12th month of the year. God is faithful, 2025. And I'm so grateful. I don't know about you, but I am ecstatic for God's mercy, God's grace. Um, I'm ecstatic uh, for what God has done. And technically, we have already transitioned those who, and I'm speaking to our faith, there's no pun intended on any other faith system or beliefs, technically in the realm of the spirit concerning just dealing with who we are as Christians and followers of Christ. Our new year in our faith had begun in September 22nd. All right, to the 24th. We have already celebrated the spiritual new year. We've already crossed over. That's how God has blessed us. He's given us the best of both understandings. So as we get ready for the Gregorian calendar, which is December 31st, and the crossover, I believe we need to can all we get and get all we can, all right, of all that God has for us and what that looks like. And so today's session is dealing with restructuring after loss, restructuring after all that you have done and gone through in 2025. There's some things that some people have carried over from 21 to 22 to 23 to 24 to 25, now to 26. And I'm not just talking about uh, physically. I'm talking about mentally, emotionally, psychologically, as well as spiritually. And so we want to help you bring understanding and clarity to how does moving forward look? How does moving on? Hey, Elder Donna, blessings to you. How does moving forward look? How does transitioning look? How does your life look? Because we are a people that tend to stay and don't know how to move forward. This is a real challenge for many of us, if not all of us. How do we as people move forward? I do believe that our spiritual walk is important. Clinically, how do you move forward? I believe in the power of your thinking, your mind, rebooting it, renewing it. How do we get the new spiritual software updates downloaded into our mind? This has to be an intentional act. This you have to give permission for the update, the upgrade, the renewing. Your individual selves. You can confess it. You can profess it all day, every day. And we're people who talk a great game. But to put the work in and to allow our minds to be updated, to intentionally let go, move things out of the way because they're obsolete. They were necessary for that season. They were necessary for that particular person, place, or thing. But what does restructuring look like? How does that look like to you? What does that mean to you? What is how has it looked for you? And so I believe that many of us, if not all of us, so many people, Elder Ron, are suffering with separation distress. That is the place where there's a fight within ourselves, within oneself, if I should say. There's a fight within oneself. There's a contemplation. There's always the bargaining and the reasoning. Should I leave? Should I not leave? Should I jump? Should I not jump? Should I stay? Should I go forward? How do we move? How do we restructure? Um, does this next season or chapter of my life look? How does it look with separating myself or moving on myself from a narcissistic person or narcissistic place? How do I move myself, my mind, my heart, my goal, my pursuits, my plans? How do I move forward? What does that look like? What does moving forward look like? So separation distress is a real phenomenon. And this is, in many cases, how and where people get stuck, how and where one can get stuck. And because it can be a number of things, it can be an age factor, it can be a financial factor, it can be an educational factor, it can be family factors. There's a lot of moving parts. So I tend to give grace to people who's stuck or who's challenged with moving on, because in many cases we people are judged, people are treated poorly and fairly, and because there's so many other moving parts. There's a financial component connected to it. There is a legal component connected to it. There's so many reasons why people stay. So many reasons why people leave, right? Um, there's so many reasons why people stay, and there's reason why people leave. So separation distress is a real phenomenon mentally. It's a real emotional phenomenon. And I'm talking clinically now. I'm talking to that aspect of what brings on the fear, what brings on the reasoning, the rationalizing, what brings on that person who is overwhelmed or underwhelmed. What brings that on? What causes that? There is a reason why people are the way they are, why we respond the way we respond. There is a distinct reason why we do this. All right. So I definitely want you to take the time. Again, not to judge yourself or judge anybody else critically or crucially or harshly, without full assessment, without thinking through, without understanding where one is. This is going to help people move and walk out of cycles. I believe today God is going to give you the ability to walk out of cycles, to walk out of it, to walk out of cycles. And that's what we need. We must learn the power of, hey, Mama Pat, of how to walk out of cycles. It's not just and this is going to be easier than you think, right? This is today's session is going to help you walk out of cycles when you realize you have the ability to just get up and transition yourself, your mind, and your heart. I went hard yesterday in scripture and in understanding how it works, how stubbornness and pride is behind a lot of our non mobility. It's behind a lot of our inability to move. We have the ability, but it's behind a lot of it. Stubbornness and pride. That's one of the components. And then the other component is simply stated and noted as the spirit of fear. And so let's unpack this. Let's talk about these two trends that go on in our lives. And so this first thing I want to talk about is you understanding anytime there is a need to move on, a need to look at yourself and pick yourself up from a horrible place, from a rough season, a rough severing separation. Um, I sense and note that this platform really helped people who have to move on, and because you've been taken advantage of. I'm talking about, um, and when we talk about moving on, we're not talking about divorce and just separation. I'm talking about mentally moving on and moving yourself from a toxic place, from a place where you are constantly taken advantage of, when you are constantly taken for granted, when you are constantly used and abused, when you are around people who are entitled. And we're talking about what does that look like when you separate yourself, when you say no, when you put your iron fist down, and when you change things, when you say no, enough is enough. And you're not saying it in a violent way, you're not saying it in a nasty way. Of course, it's always going to make the person feel different who has been the recipient of your open heart, your resources, your goods, your time. There will be a manipulation there. There will be a backlash. You have to expect that. You have to expect, oh, you changed. Why? What happened all of a sudden? You think you're better than you're gonna get bombarded with all kinds of kickbacks, all kinds of mental and emotional guilt and shame. You're gonna have that. That's part of your growth. You have to understand when you realize that you're tired. I heard someone tell me years ago in counseling, when you're tired, when you get sick and tired of being sick and tired, you'll know what to do, right? And so this is at that point, restructuring your life as you move forward into the new year, the new season, the new you. There are goals. There are focuses on your journey that we want to help you understand what that looks like. So the underlying factor of the kickback, you must expect that person who's been the recipient of your kindness to kick back in a major way. That group of people who's been the recipient of your kindness, right? Of your resources. The fact that you're pulling things back, you're bringing these in. And how does that look? How does not having them as a friend look? Not having them as close to you look? This is about you. This is not about anyone else. How do you restructure your mind to benefit you? How do you restructure your thinking? How do you become the architect for your own thoughts, for your own future? What does that look like? So the first word that we want to highlight is the word that we're familiar with is different. Instead of, I want to give you another angle or another aspect of that. How note that your life is going to be different. Accept different. Accept that word. I encourage you right now to accept that word different, not in a negative way, but in a positive way. Accept it. It's been different for a while and for a long time because you didn't even realize that you had given yourself, your time, your place, your energy. You've given yourself to someone who was different and who had different upbringings, different goals, different ideologies, different faiths, different paths, different views, different perspective. And you've given the different who you are, right? To a situation that did not fully understand or honor you. And so we're going to stop the bleeding. We're going to stop the unnecessary now, and we're going to move forward. And this word different is necessary. This word different is not a bad and you're in a different season, a different headspace, a different heart space. You may be devastated or hurt. There may be the fact that you survived and you can now identify how you feel. Because one thing about surviving on a day to day basis, week to week, month to month, year to year, and surviving someone else's toxicity, someone else's mindset, someone else's upbringing, someone else's ideology, someone else's vision, someone else's purpose, someone else's personality. Wow. That's what I need to keep. Sometimes I keep talking till I hit the word, right? The word resonate, right? So someone else's personality, because that's what we're dealing with. Any level of relationship, any level of or heterosexual or same sex or family dynamic or any level of work space, people who you work with, people who you spiritually commune with, church, right? The church building, because again, I'm always indifferent about when I say church. When I say church, I know what I mean when I say church. When I say church, meaning the place where the people gather, because the people are the church. The church is not a building; it is a conglomeration of people, right? So when we gather, right, when we gather around, when we gather Elder Donna, we are gathering with all kinds of personality disorders, mental disorders, everything you can imagine is in that particular community, is in that particular place, right? So understanding that is so powerful, that God is so powerful and so rich in what he does, that he can minister a one word from one text or multiple texts that coincides together to a people with all different, who's in all different seasons, all different parts, all different places. But the word is so powerful that everyone in that room can find something to relate to, something that it speaks to, and it helps, right? However, we're still in a room, whether it's your immediate family, your work family, or your spiritual family, or your family that you have other commitments to. You may be in sororities. You may be in fraternities. You may have a bowling crew that you deal with, a community, a political community that you deal with. Whatever, however it is, whatever you've tapped into your realm, your space. You may be in a knitting crew. I don't know. There's so many different platforms out here that we can lend space to. There are people who are down with the double Dutch crew and what that looks like. And there's traveling, and you may be a part of a traveling community, a community that goes and does missions. However it is, no matter what community you are part of, no matter what you draw support from, you are still drawing support from people from different personalities, right? And so the closer you get to someone, the more you become naked, the more you become transparent, the more they see you, they get to know you, you see them, you get to know them. So it's still community, right? It's still tribal. It's still clannish, right? It's still group, right? And family. Ultimately, it's a family. You become family. Your family, your immediate family structure is not much different from your work family structure. There are clashes. There are people who think they're the boss. There are people who think they know everything. If you don't have that in your family, if you don't have that in your immediate crew, and then there are people who have big hearts, big minds, who are very empathic, they are the empath, who are really, really taken advantage of. And then there you got people who are completely narcissistic. You got people who are very, very controlling, right? It's in every community. How do we navigate ourselves from this different place? How do we commune and still gather peace from this particular place? Number one, I told you a few moments ago that the key word and the word for it in this start of as we prepare for 2026 is different. What does that word different mean? It means we're speaking to you to see it from a different light, a different perspective, and from a healthy place, because you are different. You're not off, you're not crazy, you're just different. And now the headspace where you are is different. The mental space where you are is different. Your relational space that you are is different. Your spiritual space that you are now in is different. Your mental space is different because you survived, because you overcame. Yes. So looking at it different, not unique, not just unique, rather, not different from an unhealthy place, but different from a healthy place. You're just different. You're in a different space because now you can begin the process of restructuring. That's my second word, in this different place. Restructuring is important. It is so, so vitally important to you and for you. How does restructuring look? And you may be saying, um, William Bishop, I am 30 and I don't want to restructure. I'm 40 and I'm 50, I'm 60, I'm 70. However age, whatever season you are, number one, you're in a different space. That's why I'm taking time with that word different. Can somebody just type that? It's so important for us to understand what different looks like. Hey, Laverne, blessings to you. I love you so much. Good morning to you. What different looks like. And some of us are in denial about the different space and the different time that we're in. Where you individually, you're not the young, sexy thing you once was. Not the young, handsome thing, or just, and when I say this, right, I mean it from the healthy perspective, from a physical perspective, right? You're not. We've evolved. What does life look like at 30, at 40, at 50, at 60? Where are you at when it comes to your mind, your framing now? You're restructuring, you're reconstructing you, right? And being okay with the reconstruction, right? We often say, Holy Spirit, come in, have your way. We want a renewed mind, but we want to keep the same ways. We want to keep the same ideologies. We want to keep the same perspectives, and it has to change, right? Because you've changed. You have legitimately changed, not in a negative way, but you've changed because you survived, because you pulled through, right? God brought you out. He set you up. Now you are in a different space because it's a different time. And so updating our minds for new architectural designs for how this season looks. You may not need a lot of closet space now in this season of your life. You may not need the 4 or 5 bedroom house or the 3 bedroom apartment because it's just you now. I'm just giving metaphors now. These are metaphors, mental metaphors. You may not need, there is a purging, a washing. I talked yesterday about our brain need to get washed at times. We need to brainwash, just get our mind scrubbed, right? How do we reconstruct our lives? And how do you make it about you without being narcissistic, without being totally selfish? How? Yes. How do you make it about you? And I'm talking to people who are married, who are in a healthy relationship, who are in a functional relationship or have functional relationships. How do this is about you at this age, at this season of your life. And I'm talking to those who are also in a separation period, a moving on period, a the season has changed. And I'm not talking again divorce or separation. I'm talking to what do you do when God's season changes in our lives? What do you do? Right? When God has new for you, but you can't get the old out of you. That's what happened to the children of Israel. Great, 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 great metaphor in scripture. Exodus, the 13th chapter, speaks to that. What does that look like? You know, a 40-day journey turned into a 40-year cycle of 40 days, a month and a couple of weeks journey turned into a 40-year journey. What? I want you to fathom that. Just wrap your brain around it. 40 day turns into 40 years. You know how much time was wasted? You know how much imprisoned or enslaved they were in mentally? Hey, Renee, we often say you can take the hood out of, you can take people rather out of the hood, but you can't take the hood out of people. There is some truth to that. They still had Egypt in them. They didn't have a renewed mind. And it was because here's what God called them. You ready? You ready? He called them a stiff-necked people. Stiff-necked. That means they didn't have the ability to turn or reposition their head, their view, their perspective. Anytime your neck is stiff, it's hard for you to, it's hard to do this. There's no repentance there. They are set in their own way. There's no room for new because you can't embrace different. You're used to how things go. You are a traditional person. You are you are set in your way. This is how it has to be. This is how, you are a controlling person, and you are stuck in that, right? And he called them a stubborn, a stiff neck, right? So when we look at the word stiff neck, it speaks to two different things, speaks to several different things. It speaks to the neck part. Look at the metaphor of any human being or even animal. Every one of us have a neck, and it gives us the ability to be mobile in our views and our perspective. When you are a stiff-necked person, watch this, it speaks to a spirit or a mindset of stubbornness. Stubbornness comes to mind. This is what, when God calls his people a stiff neck, he's saying that there's no mobility in the neck. There's no repenting, no turning. You can't turn. And many times what happens, and we don't realize that in Proverbs 23 talks about life and death is in the power, as a person think it in their heart. So the thinking is where the challenge is, right? We talked about having our brain washed and reset in the word of God. John 15:3 talks about how we are washed by the word. Our mind need to be washed. Our spirit needs to be washed. All right. And understanding that, hey, Bishop Bryant, blessings to you, man. Um, I love you, man. Our spirit, our mind needs to be washed. And what that looks like when he says stubborn. Now, let me park here for a minute because so many people glorify stubbornness. This is a phenomenon in our community, in our colloquial terms, our terms of endearment. You can keep yourself bound because you are I'm just stubborn. Everybody know I'm stubborn. That's just me. That's just how I am. I can't I've been this way for a long time. You love me or take me the way I am. This is who I am. And I'm just stubborn. And so we have the tendency in our community or within ourselves to glorify stubbornness. And when you glorify stubbornness, you are committing to that. You become that because you are confessing life and death is in the power. Binding and loosing is in your tongue, right? You are keeping yourself stubborn. You are. Now, when we look and hear the word stubborn from the animal kingdom, because the Bible has five kingdoms in it. You have five different kingdoms. You have the animal kingdom, mineral kingdom, you have the spiritual kingdom, the human kingdom, and you have God, oh, the plant kingdom. So there's five different kingdoms that metaphorically that you can see God or God uses to bring out points. When we think of an animal that is stubborn, one of the main animals that come to play is a mule, a donkey, an ass, right? Those are that's the animal that comes to play. We know that a mule, Ron, has the propensity and part of its nature, part of its personality is to legitimately land itself and not move. Stuck, stuck, won't move, stubborn when it feels like it for whatever reason. That is one of the major personality traits when we think of a mule. You don't think that about a lamb or a sheep. That's why he didn't come as a mule or a giraffe or a dog or a hyena or a rat. He came as a lamb because the attribute of a lamb is that of free will, no fight, no defense, no nothing like that. So that's the characteristic of a lamb. When we think about how what Satan used, right? What Lucifer used, the Bible says, now the serpent, who was the most cunning out of all of God's creation in the animal kingdom, the most wisest, the most craftiest, that's who and what that spirit got into. Now, the mule, let's talk about this because stubbornness is a challenge for so many of us. The mule, not only is it set in its way because it wants to it just set, right? It's hard to move, right? There are people who are stuck right now with a mule like mentality. It's a stronghold. It is a mind that has been set. What a stronghold is in the Greek is a mindset, a set way of thinking, a rudimented, set way of thinking that has been enforced for a long time, practiced for a long time, right? So there are times when we don't recognize that we can become stubborn. We glorify stubbornness, and that mule is a great example of being stiff-necked or stubborn, right? The other part about a mule is that it can carry stuff 3, 4, 5 times its weight. What are you carrying mentally, emotionally, psychologically? Who are you carrying? How many people are you carrying in that heart of yours, that mind of yours? How many offenses have you taken inventory of, and you then you then execute grudges, you then execute resentment, bitterness, you then strike hard. What? It's there is a motivating factor behind stubbornness, behind the stiff neck, and the root cause, the hidden strength of stubbornness is pride. Pride is behind stubbornness. It is. I'm not forgiving them. I don't care. I'm not going around them. I don't care who or what. I don't care what pride is will keep you holding the holding things, compartmentalizing things, pride, right? Pride is the strength of sin. It keeps us bound, right? And so when we look now at what it means, what's causing this now, in many cases, in all fairness, your pain in many cases, it is a guardrail. It is a protection. This is where we go into the clinical aspect of this, because people in our apostolic, holiness, and Pentecostal or spiritual community environment, we will automatically call things a demon. We will automatically demonize things. We will automatically just crucify somebody. They put oil on them, pray for them, and call them all and call this, call that. When the reality is there is a conflict behind why people are the way they are. This is emotional, spiritual intelligence, right? There is cause and effect. Many times people are harsh, defensive, offensive. Walls are up, right? Defense is up, offense goes out verbally, offense goes out in nonverbal cues and ways and all those other things because of a pain, a trauma that was undiagnosed, a pain, someone who has been overlooked, someone who has been discounted, someone who was not taken, your feelings weren't taken serious. You were the person in the family that just didn't get the clarity, the understanding, the empathy, the sympathy, the compassion. And so now that part of you, that person of you, there's a reason for the clapback. There's a reason for the cynical ways, the sarcasm. There's a reason for the pushback. There's a reason for all that. Now, we're not justifying, but there's pain that's being guarded now. There's pain that just wasn't validated in your immediate family, from your father, from your mother. And many times now, when you go out into other communities, they're feeling the wrath of what did not happen as a child, what did not happen as a young woman, young man, teenage woman, teenage man, the young man, a young woman, what did not happen. And many times we fail to realize that there's cause and effect. Everything that's big in someone started small, started at the offense grew, the pain grew, the hurt grew. And so now you're titled, now you're degreed, now you're in other communities, now you're in different relationships. And now that person or persons are experiencing your wrath, are experiencing my wrath, right? Because it just does not discriminate, right? I want you to know that it don't discriminate. So moving forward, right? In this season of your life, you're in a different space. Different is good. I want somebody to type that. Different is good, right? You're restructuring. What does restructuring? Hey, Lamisha, what does restructuring look like? Right. So that means you have now mentally the architectural design from God and from your higher power, however you want to call them, to restructure this different space that you're in. Right. Different is good from a healthy. I want you to adopt that word, put it a part of your mentality, your morning routine. You're in a different space, just like we transitioned from November now into December. It's a different time, it's a different month, right? A different day, right? You've never lived in this day, right? And so you come with being different, looking at things. I'm in a different space. So I'm in a different season of my life. And this is why I can't say it enough. The danger of comparing your season to somebody else's, your headspace to somebody else's, your traumas to someone else's, your successes to someone else's. There's no mirror that fits you. Your mirror is for you. Don't look at nobody else's mirror. Don't look at your face looking at somebody else's picture, be it on social media, be it in your immediate family, your work family, your church family, or whatever community that you're a part of. See yourself, not them. And this is the challenge, right? For so many of us and so many people who are comparing, because when you compare, you become competitive. Just remember that. Anytime there's a mind to compare, you are literally competing. There's a comparison that says, I got to hurry up to be like them. I'm going to be better. I'm going to look better, think better, do better. No, I get inspiration. I get that. I get the motivation that some folk you can gather from people in their life and lifestyle in their season. But this is about different, your life, your mind, your heart, what you survived, what you came through, what you're coming through. The word different is to help, right? You reconstruct this new you, this new season. What does that look like? What does restructuring or reconstructing look like for you? Your mind, your heart, your your personality, your physicality, your health, your mental health, your emotional health, your spiritual health. What does that look like for you? You know, um, um, downsizing in friends. Do you need 10 best friends, five best friends? Downsizing is a real thing. And some people have already lived that way anyway, technically. And so kudos to you, right? And then now what shows up at the end, and we're going to get ready to close and bring this session in to an end, is the last thing I want to talk about is that you're coming with, guess what? You're coming in this new season, in this new architectural design of your life. You're coming with experience. Somebody type that. I have experience. You experienced a lot. You survived a lot. This qualifies you to, watch this, understand this new space that you're in. You survived so much, right? You you come with experience, right? You have a lot of experience, right? And you know, I wish I can talk about the family boundary, the ambulating and all those particular things, what that looks like. Right? It's because now you're going to have a lot of different people giving their opinions, different views, different perspectives about your new place, your new construct of where you are. This is about your faith, your peace, your heart, your mind. This is not you being selfish. This is you being consciously. This is about you making your life, right? This is about you satisfying you. I have reached my time today, and I'm grateful for this session. I'm grateful for the wind down. What does that look like? The wind down. Hey, Elder Rose, I love you so much. What does that look like? The wind down. Well, let's wind things down for the session. Let's just breathe if you can. Take a moment and breathe in, breathe out. Find a safe space, a quiet space in your room, in your car, wherever you may be. And let's just process all that has been stated, what we are looking at in this new place, this new mental place, emotional place, psychological place. Again, our platform is designed to help give people space and to unpack, track, and unpack. That's what we're about. Let's track what's going on in you, not anyone else. We're not monitoring no one. You are being responsible to and for your mind, your heart, your soul, right? This is, I urge you, therefore, brothers and sisters, by the mercy of God, that you present your body a living sacrifice, holy and acceptable unto God, which is your reasonable or occupation. Be not conformed to this world, but be ye transformed by the renewing. Why did Paul put that? The renewing of your mind. This is this is about tracking and unpacking trauma, undiagnosed. We ain't dancing over it. Oof, oof. We ain't shouting or praising over it. He said, you can't be renewed in your mind by the renewing of your praise or the renewing of your worship, renewing of your fasting, renewing of your word search and word study. No, it starts with the renewing of your mental, your ability to think, your capacity to grasp, to understand. That's what he's talking about here. And these are the places, that's the place where the warfare begins. That's the place where you're challenged like everybody else. That's the place where the trauma, undiagnosed trauma, as anointed as you are, hot, hot, all that, stop that. You're still living with unprocessed and undiagnosed trauma that precedes or predates your call, your title, your position that predates your boo or your bae, predates your children, predates your best friend. God, what do you do when your dysfunctions are just as old as you? Your stronghold, your mindsets had time to grow up, calcified, fortified self, grown, grown strongholds. Wow. Grown. Just again, a stronghold is a mindset. It's mental. Weapons of our warfare, not carnal. 2 Corinthians 10. But it's mighty through God to the pulling down of stronghold. What is a stronghold? A mind set, a mind that has been set this way before you receive Christ. Speak in tongues of that. Before you came to the kingdom, mindsets. Thank God for the grace to deal with the mindset. You want to call it a demon? No, it's a trauma in many cases. It's something that's clinical. I believe in clinical deliverance. Yeah, I want to lay hands. I understand that. The three aspects of what Christ dealt with. Christ dealt with familiar spirit, unclean spirit, right? And he dealt with the familiar spirit is those, who's had time to deal with it, the unclean spirit and the spirit of infirmity, right? Three different categories that he cast out, right? Spirit of infirmity dealt with sickness. Spirit of unclean spirit dealt with people who had lasciviousness and things that was just doing crazy things that would cause folk to throw themselves in the fire, right? And the unclean spirit, the familiar spirit, that's it also, right? Familiar spirit, that was it. Familiar, unclean, and spirit of infirmity, right? So, but there are some things that we're anointed, people got great anointings on their life, but undiagnosed trauma, mean as hell, mean, confused, highs are high, lows are low. And so we want to help you deal with this. This is what this platform is about. I come to you with over nearly 30 years of experience in this. And so we're going to continue to do and work our assignment. God bless you. I'm grateful for this first day of December. Thank you for joining us in the Unpack Mental Hellness to Wellness session. I hope that you receive a lot in this, and I would that you would share. Go on your social media page and share this moment, share this session with everyone that you know and love, right? You can share a recipe, share this. You can share a favorite laughing moment, share this. All right. God bless you all and have an amazing day. I pray God's favor. I pray God's peace. I pray God's purpose over your life that you will walk in this new day, this new season. How does it look is different, but you got this. Blessings to you all.